We'll call the meeting of May the 10th, 2022 to order, and at this time, if you would stand, John Bryant's going to lead us in the invocation.
Let us bow our heads. Our God and our Father, we come here tonight as members of TREPO. We ask that you help each and every one of our people here to have a better part, a great summer. Just, dear Lord, we need all your help we can get. We try to make things right, but sometimes we don't always get things right, but we're still working on it. I'd also like to remember Charlie Arnett, great man, good neighbor, good friend. Last Sunday, I asked if you would keep his family in your prayers, we share in your prayers as we go about our daily tasks. So I ask this in your name. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Sammy. And before we do the roll call, I just would like to make everybody aware that Charlie did pass down in Orlando 10:30 Sunday morning, and Laura and I had the opportunity and the privilege to visit with him down there about 3 or 4 times in the last few weeks. We were with him on Monday before Sunday, before he passed, and he was in very good spirits, and we had great conversations. Conversation always kept leading back to Three Rivers and to his friends here. Very, very hard to have that conversation, but told me he knew he was going to the other side, and said, that dadgummit, I'm just going to, you retired now, and I waited on you 15 years. And so I said, well, you know, Charlie, time, there is no time up there. I'm the one who's going to suffer. I'm going to be down here with all of this. So I'll see you soon. But I just want to tell you that Charlie joined this board with me back around 2007 and was very, very instrumental in helping this association through all of those years with projects through electricity, plumbing, electrical, managed the finances for us for many years and did a super job with that. Helped us get on our feet, organized, helped us begin to start accruing dollars in a good, healthy fashion, and we're just really going to miss him. I think he'll be very, very hard to replace. So we don't know what the arrangements right now for the funeral is going to be. Sharon will be here tomorrow for a few days. Is going to stay, and we will be working with her as those plans are being made. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. So if we could have the roll call, please.
Glenn Hunter.
Here.
Vonda Ackerson. Here. John Bryant.
Here.
Sassy Johnson. Sammy King.
Here.
Tommy Will Matthews.
Here.
Joe Nano. Here. Phil Ray. Charlie Thompson.
Here.
Tom Carroll.
Here.
Terry Hester. Here. Nikki Nelson. Victoria M. Here. Mary Braley. Here. Lisa Kirby. Rick Palm.
Okay, so we have Cassie's not here today. Phil Ray is still very ill, can't attend the meetings. Did anybody hear from Rick Palm?
Well, I know that his brother is here, so he may just have other commitments.
Okay, so
Is he needed for?
well, usually if someone will call in if they're going to be absent, but he's not really on the board. He's an alternate. We have a quorum, so we can go forward with what we what we have, so we do have a quorum.
Okay.
So we
Do
have,
we know about Sassy?
Cassie, what, pardon me, you're here? Did we call Mary's name?
Yes.
We did, but I must have missed that, I'm sorry. So it goes, I'm gonna have to start getting some hearing aids, I guess, now, so Mary, you can join the board, so if you'd like to come. Yeah. I had talked to Sassy's, was not feeling well is all I know, so she said she may not be here. So we have Sassy and Phil Ray. Is that so? Motion to approve their, let's see here. Request to approve those excused members.
Make a motion.
Motion by John, second by Tommy. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we will move on to the agenda, and of course you can see I've got a few little bloops in the agenda. We're going to be approving the April board minutes tonight. And Hilda, that's a good job on the minutes. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Very, very well organized. Appreciate that. And another item that we will change that to the April minutes of the spring picnic report. I wasn't here last month, and so I put that back on the agenda, not hearing it. And I would also like to say thank you, Tommy, for covering for the meeting last month. Did a good job from what everyone has said. So those are the two items. I would like to also move under discussion action items. I'll move board presentation by Allison to C, and then move elections committee to D. Okay, so those are two recommended changes. We have a motion to approve.
What about number 17, the next meeting, the second Tuesday is the 14th, I believe.
Well, that's I did that one too. That's what I told the girl to put down there was a second. So we'll fix that also. So we have the three items that we need to correct. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Trammell,
Second.
seconded by Tommy Matthews. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so we will now move on to the April board minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or anything you'd like to discuss about the board minutes?
I hope so.
Okay, Joan, what's your first item?
The first item is that the board, or the committee was supposed to be doing the election for the B. The B is not what we're doing, the A is what, and if you'd like to have a handout, I can show you exactly why.
We're not there yet.
Okay, so,
I
okay.
will give one to Gilda.
That's okay, that's okay. Let me just ask this. These are the minutes that were recorded from the meetings. Is that what was discussed at the meeting we were?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can correct that in the elections committee, but that's what was discussed and stated
Well,
at the
minutes
meeting.
are wrong.
Well, the minutes
That's
are,
what I said.
the minutes are correct for what was
But
stated or
I
handled the
told-
meeting, but we'll correct that in the elections committee. Okay?
Also, I was asking to be on it, and it's not in the minutes that I'm not permitted to be on the committee, because it's already been,
It wasn't noted that you weren't going to be in the committee, so that's fine. Now we know, but this is a month later. Right?
well,
Okay.
that was spoken about at the meeting.
Okay.
Ms. Terry said that she already had the committee, and I was not accepted on the committee.
I didn't hear Ms. Terry say that she already had the committee. I heard Tom Trammell say that Terry was going to have the decision.
She was in charge, that's correct. And that followed with, she already had the committee, because I asked to be on the committee.
So as it relates to the recording of the minutes, is what's stated correct?
Yes.
Does that, because that item is not there, that doesn't, is that,
She just wants to, I'll make sure that I know that you're not on the committee. She's not on the committee? That you're not on the committee?
No. Also, it's not, the membership is not reflected in our minutes. And I asked what the membership was, and I was told Columbia County 501, Suwannee County 162, total 763. And that's not correct. It should be a total of 663.
Okay, we need to make that correction if that's correct. So where is that?
But would we correct that on today's minutes?
We-
That's what we talked about last
If
time.
you stated it that way,
Where's
then
it on
she's
here?
actually recording
Where's it
the
on
minutes as they were, so.
Where's it
The
on here?
minutes.
I may not have,
Where is it?
I know, I'll accept that. I may have omitted it.
She's doing great, let me tell you.
know what I
For all of
Great,
this
but
discussion and gang, she does wonderful.
So I'm a little bit lost. So are we wanting to record the minutes at as 100% of what's been said? Is that,
No, it's not supposed to be he said, she said, according to
Okay,
720s.
all right. So we will work then on tonight when we get to the memberships. Let's work to clarify exactly where we stand at this point, and we will do that, okay? All right, so
Another correction.
you do? Yes,
The
okay.
second page, the middle, where it says fishing park, needs mowing, and it's got Charlie Arnett, which
Oh, it
that's
should
incorrect.
be you, Charlie Matthews. No? That was you? I'm sorry, so it should be mowing.
I told you that I would, contact him about that, me and Ken had already talked about him doing that Friday.
Oh, you will ask Ken to do it,
Yeah.
correct?
That should be Terry.
Thank you.
Didn't somebody do it? It looked fine to me.
Well, he's basically spray that stuff, field and
Okay, so did that need a name change? Is that just a correction there? So,
Yeah.
okay, so we can make that change on the minutes, and we can now approve the minutes if someone would make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended today.
I'll second.
Okay, and Madam Chair of the minutes, you understand the changes that were requested?
I
That you
do,
can-
and Charlie Thompson, I will make these revisions and send you a new document. Do you want a PDF or what do you want it as?
PDF or Word, whichever.
Okay, I'll send you a new PDF.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to Secretary's report. Anything
I don't
else?
think I have anything really. I'll be speaking later.
Okay, very good. Treasurer's report?
Okay, does everybody have a copy of the treasurer's report? Okay. I'll put yours in.
I already heard.
Oh, okay. The checking account balance in Drummond is $13,704.05. Our reserve account at Drummond in savings is $50,015.96. And our membership account at Drummond is $75,158.82 for a total of $138,878.83. If you will notice that our working fund, which is the top Drummond checking account from last year, that's the one we're actually paying our invoices out of. The membership account has not been touched, but it's dwindling down. So I was going to ask the board if they wanted me to transfer some monies over because the year is almost half up and we're still paying bills and that's dwindling down. So I was going to ask you how much I should transfer over.
So, board members, is there any number that we would like to look to give Vicki the authorization to move over? Maybe $10,000 at some point at your discretion, as you see you need it? That'd be in the form of a transfer.
Yeah, we spend, $3,000 or $4,000 a month. There's no more money going into that account because it's all going into membership. So at this point, every few months, we may be transferring money. So it's up to you if you want to do a big one or you want to do little ones along the way.
What is your recommendation?
I was going to ask for 25.
Okay, then that would be part
Why
of
are
your,
we maintaining 2 checking accounts?
just come back through the chair. Why are we maintaining 2 checking accounts?
Well, the membership, we were keeping separate.
That's correct.
And the checking account that we're writing our monthly bills out of is dwindling down because no new money is going in there. It's all going into membership. And the other savings account is just our reserve for emergencies.
Right, and I think that membership account, we were looking to kind of track how we were moving along with memberships through the year, is that correct? And then we
Right.
would transfer that over.
Right.
So we can kind of accrue, I believe at the end of the year too, we were just having those discussions. So we can kind of get a picture of where we are through the year. So I think that's a good idea. So you're asking the board as part of your treasurer's report, a finance report, to include maybe the opportunity to transfer $25,000 as needed for expenses that the board would approve
Yes,
through the budget anyway.
yes.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Have we used a percentage in the past that we transfer? I mean, this is a common thing.
We
that
never had 2 different checking accounts. We did it this time for online payments.
Right.
We didn't want that online payments to get mixed into our regular checking account. We wanted to keep the money separate so there was good auditing and good tracking on membership money coming in online.
I guess what I'm asking is, have we used a consistent or an average percentage that we've relied on to transfer money as you requested? In other words, is it something we've looked back on and say, yes, we normally do a percentage, not just,
We
not
never
a,
transferred before.
never
We
had.
only
Yeah.
had 1 checking account, so it was
Right.
never an
So there's
issue.
never been any.
Yeah, and
Never
we're coming into season now, so you're gonna
Right.
actually have quite a bit of
So we
expenses in
could maybe
season.
develop a percentage, that way we could just say we transfer automatically this amount. If it's there, it can be changed by the board or something.
We can have an experienced mod after this season to take a look at that.
It sounds like a basic
Yes.
accounts payable, accounts receivable, and a checking account. You have to transfer.
Charlie, just one moment. Scott John?
The smaller checking account, if it went down to 5,000, you would know that is what you started with. Then you could go ahead and do the 75,000, where that would be paying our bills. So next year, when you start your membership, you would start with a $5,000 balance and just add to it as you get membership. That way you would rotate each year the first checking account or the second checking.
Well, I'm sure that there would be a plan at the end of the year to make sure that the membership money was moved out completely, so next year we start out with a clean slate. But
And you can
for
track,
now,
you can track that monthly from the experience through the whole year to see exactly where you are as you're taking in what you're taking in, so.
Right.
I do have a question. We have a,
ma'am,
Why don't you just have automatic transfer, so much money every month already? It's automated.
yeah. We can give you authorization, you're the treasurer, we'll give you authorization if that's part of your request to the board, and then whatever the board wants to do. So, do you have anything else to add to the finance report?
I would do, no.
And that's your recommendation? Okay. Board members, you've heard the recommendation.
I make
to,
a motion, we transfer.
Well, we're going to approve the finance report, and part of the finance report would be to be able to move up to 25,000 as you need.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do you have a motion?
I make a motion, we do it.
We have a second by John. Well, John, let's let Joan have a second here. How about that? All right? Let's say Joan second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Vicki. We'll move on now to the president's report.
Okay, I did get a quarterly water transfer back here in Noel that passed. Bill Martin, put a lock on Camp Park, the big Don had gave me the lock for it, and, we had a member that wants us to give a key this lady that, saves manatees, goes out there and looks at them. But me and Bonner determined that she only, in the last year or two, she's only done one. So we didn't think that was a big enough thing. She needed to get into the park, she could contact me or Kathy Riker to get into the park.
Which park is that?
Boat
Any-
ramp,
Any part.
yeah. Just
It's
so
like
she
to check
could
on the
get in.
manatees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta go by boat.
Pretty much could just walk into Boat Ramp Park, couldn't
You
you?
walk in all
If
of
you
them.
needed
except
to,
for
Well,
okay.
she had to go get the manatee, she wouldn't even get
Okay.
on the boat, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, and we did start the gates up full-time, all but boat ramp this past weekend. It was a good time full, and that will, the next meeting I would like to talk to you about how we would, take care of people that don't wanna follow the rules. Cause I had a couple incidents this weekend where people just totally ignored what I said and done what they wanted to do.
Okay. We're getting into season, so it'll be
Yeah.
getting very close
Yeah.
to the time for that. So anything else, Terry?
You wanna talk about now?
Well, let's talk about that.
Anyway,
Okay.
me and Mona suggested first give them a verbal warning, second, give them a written warning, the third time, take the membership.
But this lady that defied you, that was kind of like the verbal right then.
I think so.
I think you should go straight to a written warning at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, she walked in with a bottle, and I told her, I'm like, man, we got to take the bottle out. And she goes, I got a zipper right here, I'll put it in my zipper. I said, man, we got to take the bottle out, we don't have bottles in the car. She kept on walking, and got the river and left. The only way I could stop her was to jump on top of her, I couldn't do that.
Well, no,
Been entertaining.
Well, I think really the concern is also, is the park, but it's also the glass in the river, and I think that's, at least if we can on our end, and that was the intent all along, was to keep the glass out of the river, so,
Exactly.
the point, we're bringing on a park ranger right now. We've got application up on the website. Why don't we let that committee that's gonna be working with the park ranger, let's go through all of these and look at the process on how we wanna communicate that and how we want the board to take action on that, because
Okay.
if people can't follow the rules, they certainly don't deserve to have a key to be in the park if they can't follow the same rules that everyone else has to follow.
Do you have her name and key number?
Mhm.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Are you good with that, Terry?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Because you're gonna be the one doing some of the talking, so, okay.
Give you a phone.
All right, yeah, John?
Terry, did you order a policeman for Memorial Day weekend yet?
Well, we talked about that.
What's that?
A policeman for Memorial Day weekend.
It's getting close, you won't be able to get one, you know?
No, security, police security?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what have we been doing? Have we been getting one or two?
We've been getting two.
They don't do
Okay.
anything.
Pardon me?
but
They don't do anything.
They don't do anything?
No.
Okay.
Like you tell them something's
Yeah,
going
but
on,
the
they're just like,
presence means a lot. She controls, Chairman, she controls him, we pay for it. She's got a problem, she tell him to come over and take care of her problem, or your problem, my problem. That's what we pay him for.
but they don't.
Well, aren't they a
Let me,
deterrent?
go ahead, Mr.
Maybe
Trammell.
deterrent, but
Mr. Chairman, law enforcement's limited. Some of these things they can enforce if it's in violation of the law, but if it's a violation of our codes, they can't do that unless it constitutes disorderly conduct or some other violation. But what I think is effective is, if you've noticed, even when it's not on the weekends now, I mean, I watch people running 70 and greater speeds up and down these roads, and I'm just waiting for some child to get killed. But I think when they're present, just the fact that they're present, people are going to slow down. And I think that's important to have them here, even though I know we get frustrated with what that we want them to do and they can't do. But they can't do certain things. They just cannot. If, however, you've got somebody that's disorderly, you can say, I want this person removed. placed on trespass warning, those things can occur, and they can be charged with disorderly conduct or disorderly intoxication, or if they've been warned to stay off the property, they can be charged with trespass after warning. But if they're bringing a bottle in against our rules, they don't have a lot of authority. But the fact that they're here carries more weight, I think, than we realize, especially as it relates to speeders. So just food for thought.
Yeah, and one thing too about that, about having the authority with them bringing a bottle in. If we're dead certain on our rules, and then this board has its own actions that we can take, ultimately, we can get them for trespassing, even on the property period, just for an act like that if they repeat it consistently. So, yes, Vicki. Well, let me ask, Bill had his hand up first, so.
I had heard at one of the meetings that any board member, if they, are representing Trepo, they're able to tell the officer, or Tommy probably covers this, but tell the officer that this is breaking the rules of the organization. They can be responsible for, asking that officer to handle this. I remember one time somebody had said, well, the officer couldn't do nothing because there was nobody there to take responsibility. That was a board member. I don't know if that plays into it or not.
There was a shallow discussion on that, but I don't know that we were able to take it anywhere. So, okay, Vicki?
I remember last year when I was working at the boat ramp, and it appeared to me, maybe tell me if I'm wrong, that the officers just drove around in an air-conditioned vehicle. If we're paying them and if they get out of their vehicle at Hodor and they're standing there at the gate, then you've got backup. If somebody's coming in, they don't belong there, or they're bringing glass in, they're going to see the officer's presence, and I think that would carry weight. If they're in their vehicle just riding around all day, that's a waste of money. But if they're going to get out of their vehicle and stand at Point Park or stand at Hodor Park and show backup reinforcement, then I think we're spending our money wisely then.
I agree.
Tommy,
Mr. Chairman, I think you're right, and that simply needs to be a part of any contract we have with them. That and maybe you need to say, here's what, write it down, we're going to accumulate. You can say, here's the things we'd like for you to do, as long as it's within your authority to do it. One of them is get out of your car and walk through the parks. Those are things that I think that, like you said, if we're paying them to do that, there's nothing wrong with them doing that, and they need to do it. So that needs to be a part of whomever we can talk with about the contract.
Mary Braylor had a hand up.
Okay, hey, yes, Mary.
I just want to mention about the bottle. It seems like a small thing, but I had a patient one time, he stepped on glass when he was 7, and he was 80 years old, and he was still having surgery on that foot. It was a lifetime disability from stepping on glass.
Glass in water doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, that's the purpose. Yes, John?
I have a question for Mr. Trump. If we have one of the officers that we're paying who is not on duty quo, can they still give a speeding ticket to people going down the road?
But they're still.
They can make arrests,
They're
yes.
still on duty. They don't stop being a police officer or deputy sheriff.
All right.
But
Because we did have a problem 2 years ago with one of the officers parking a car and just waving at people. No tickets given, nothing. With all these children, they need to be a little stiff on maybe watching what the speed limit is, especially right by Hodor.
So if we go forward with bringing security in, we can have that conversation with them to see what their limits are and what they would be willing to be able to do.
I just think to ask them to come in at each gate and sit there for a while, and go to another gate and sit there for a while. Probably take like
Sure.
that.
But we're going to have one officer. Is your recommendation one, pardon? Two on what days and?
On the holiday weekend, which would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Or Saturday, Sunday,
Saturday, Sunday.
Monday.
Do we do it on Monday? Because Monday's when it
Monday
typically goes
usually,
away.
and I don't do it. I see how it's going with my patients.
So Saturday and Sunday? All right. Yes, Mary?
I think those no parking signs are helpful because it cuts down on those crowds of people, the whole road blocked
bring that up,
with kids
too.
everywhere and, people have really not been parking there much to my amazement.
Yes. Go ahead.
As far as the no parking signs, I know this weekend a lot of the members were upset. You can't do that, and I think they assumed that these members put them out there. They did not. Those are put out there by the county. Actually, the county then called code enforcement, and they're the ones that gave the authorization to put those signs up. I'm happy to see those signs because I can't tell you how many times kids are so excited to get to the water, they
That's right.
grab their float and shoot across the street, and they're not looking for these speeders going by, and we are going to have a fatality if we
My
don't.
husband refuses to drive by on the weekends and things like that. He'll just turn around.
And we need to start
Understandable.
advertising that this is overflow parking
And
over here.
what you may not know is that the road easement, the center line of the road, is actually more in that direction. So that's why more property on that side is really in the road right away by survey. It's significantly on that side. So I think the county, once they realized that, did that from a liability standpoint.
Exactly.
So, a good attorney would, if you're parked out there and you're that close to the center line of the road, the county's responsible for maintaining the road. They've allowed the road to be over this way. But it could easily be, that center line could be moved over significantly at some point. Okay, so do we need a motion to approve law enforcement, or is it the consensus of the board we could just go forward like we always have in the past? So we'll have 2 officers Saturday and Sunday? Okay, is everyone good with that? Is there any objections at all from the board? Okay, we'll go forward with that. What are the hours on that? Is it 9 o'clock? You start at 10 o'clock?
No, I usually start like 11 to 5.
11 to 5.
Time to start drinking, that's when they get rowdy.
Different time to start drinking.
We all start.
Okay. All right, Terry,
How can we get the word out that this should be some overflow parking over here at the clubhouse?
well, you would think you would just about figure that one out because you
Well,
got
they're not
nowhere else to
using
go.
it.
I don't know where they're gonna go, so they have really no
They don't wanna
choice.
walk? Yeah.
I have noticed that a lot more people are dropping people off to go because there are a lot less spaces, so.
So,
Okay.
Wait, so what was so are we gonna make sure that they park in here? Because they were parked everywhere. Or can we make sure that they park right in here?
Well, they just need to know that this
Yeah.
is overflow parking and it's available. I don't
The
think people
violations out
realize
there are
that
gonna be
parking-
county violations, not ours. That'll be theirs.
Put a sign on the gate, overflow parking.
Get a sign, parking.
That might not be a bad idea. Who's the sign person? Do we have a sign person?
And I'm gonna have Mr. Chair, he's done an excellent job. What do you want?
A sign that says overflow parking.
What about additional?
With an
So-
arrow.
Or additional parking.
Additional.
Yes.
Additional parking.
Yes. Yes, John?
Mr. Chairman, I think this sign out here ought to say overflow parking and trailer parking. That keeps some of that, that would keep more out there for people, because a few people will come up here, unload, like you were saying, come up here, but a bunch of them don't.
So we want to say additional or overflow?
Whatever you ought to decide.
Additional parking and trailer parking.
So is it only for tree co people? Is it supposed to be for tree co people?
Well, there's really no one else that's supposed to be accessing the river.
Right, so shouldn't we say tree co parking?
Members only.
Yeah.
How are we gonna keep people from blocking other people who want to have a fight and throw down?
It's been going on since the beginning of time.
Good luck.
Okay, so are we covered on the signs and the sheriff, right? So we're good? Signs and sheriff?
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on. Yes.
Additional parking.
We knew you
That's it,
could.
or you got some more, or?
Trailer members only.
Three members only?
Yes.
Okay.
And we also gave a key to, or giving a key to U.S. Spring Research. They're gonna be putting a thing down there by George Horn's dock, and they're gonna be testing the water to see how it's holding up to all the stuff.
Who is?
Will they be tying their tubes to that, or?
No,
Just teasing.
well, they wanted to put their equipment in between where the tube get out and the Santa Fe. My concern with
Yeah.
that was all the boats and the drunk people, and their equipment will be gone. So I reached out to George Horn, and he said he was willing to let them put it over at
Just a
his
little-
dock.
That's a good idea.
So,
Okay, so we will move on then to the maintenance committee report. Do we have anything to report from maintenance? Terry, you want to bring up your building?
Oh, yeah. I did get the bill paid for, not this last Thursday, but Thursday before, in 2 weeks. They just, it should be delivered, and gotta be putting it up. And, also, Jesse has asked for 4 garbage cans for Hager Park and 4 for Point Park. 4 more.
4 more. Are we looking to get the same kind from Waste Pro? Is that what you're looking at? What are you looking to do?
I heard them were like $120 each.
Shoot, you can't touch one of them garbage cans from Waste Pro for about $300-400.
Really? I
You
don't
can get
know.
a used one. Oh, I bought one from Waste Pro for a used one over in Gainesville, and it only cost $70.
Hey, man.
So they recycle them over there?
Well, they clean them up, and yeah, I called.
Oh,
them
from,
on the
yeah,
phone.
I see, when people are moving out and whatever, okay.
Yeah.
Good idea.
You want to check on, pardon me?
If I'll get with Bill and find out where to go.
Okay, because those ones with the wheels on them and the tops really do make a big
Yeah, they have,
difference.
they won't pick them up.
So you'll go ahead with that through the maintenance committee then, right?
And I'd like to thank, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Terry for kind of holding things down for me when I've been out sick in the hospital and all that crap, so she's doing a hell of a job. All 3 of them girls doing a hell of a job.
Well, we're glad to have you back. We were worried about you, John, so.
I'm still worried about me.
Did y'all have anything else with the maintenance committee? Do we have anything else with the maintenance committee? We're good there? We're yes, Sammy?
Question, would a second gate down here help us out I know how crowded it gets down here for tubers and for kayakers when everybody's down there swimming. Would it be better to have a second gate for tube and kayak rental?
The problem you
I
got.
know it's getting somebody to stand at the gate or whatever.
Correct, that's the problem.
But do we think it would help?
if you go for a different launch, I think we do the same.
No, else. Just another gate to let, because it gets so crowded at the swimming hole for tubers and kayaks while everybody's out there swimming, to alternate to get another gate for tubers and.
But that's gonna be a lot of
What about,
managing.
instead of a different gate, they all come in the same gate, but a different launch, like go ahead and, like.
Different what?
We need a different launch is what, we've been talking about that.
Talk about that.
I'd say we need to put in a new dock.
We need to do a different launch, just slightly up from there. That's a definite, but we've been underwater the last 2 years about 75% of the time, so.
Do you have
Okay,
any
well,
ideas how to do it?
Huh?
Do you
Yeah,
have
he
any
knows how to
ideas
do it.
Yes, he does.
No, like an idea, like a layout, and then maybe next month,
Yeah.
we would go for it.
We've got a little bit of a layout already. Sammy and I have been working on that for a while. We just haven't had the luxury of time and
Can we see
it's
it?
been underwater.
Let's
So,
revisit
pardon?
it next month.
When do these things show up? Can we see the layout?
No, we just started discussing it, but we didn't want to go into this big sensitive area right here, but maybe closer to where the swimmers are, but separate. So that way we don't open up all that environmental area. Okay. That was, we've had these discussions in the past, pretty much in that same light. Okay, we'll move on now to the communications committee.
Well, this kind of was maintenance, but we're gonna go with communications.
Okay, Miss,
I forgot about this.
Okay.
I've been trying to find out better prices. One thing, we had the problem with the boats pulling up into the swim area. So, you know how Mr. Heimuller has
yes,
the rope
Buoys.
with the buoys on it?
yes.
So we were wanting to put one down here, the swim area, from one side to the other. We're guessing it's about, what do we say, 200 feet roughly? So can we purchase that to go across there to mark off the swim area so we don't have the boats coming
I
up
think
in
that's a
there?
good idea. Have you secured some nautical line somewhere?
No, I've just been looking on Amazon.
Okay.
But I'm trying to get there get further to get to an actual maybe a wholesale or something we can get a good amount.
Okay. What we need to do is find some way to secure it that you feel comfortable with, that's visible, nobody will get hurt, especially a boat coming up close to it. And then it'll have to be managed when water comes up.
Right.
So we'll have to have a plan of action for that. So if you want to go ahead and explore that, go ahead and do that, and we will come together and take action on it. That's good. Yes.
This Paul Heimuller has those buoys.
Right. We need something like that.
Would it
but
behoove you
more.
to go down and see how he has gotten them and talk with him?
I've seen it.
And maybe if you discuss it with him, he might be able to help you to figure out how to do it, since he already has it.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So now that you've finished up your maintenance report.
Oh, maintenance, communications, there's not a lot going on. We are gonna, we'll start putting out the information on the, probably the Facebook page and the treepo.net the first Saturday, what's that date, of June. Do you know what day is? The fourth. The first Saturday of June, the 4th, we're gonna have, DJ Ice Cream Chris. It's gonna do karaoke. We have time for that? We're gonna do a country thing, so it's gonna be country music. They could do line dances, whatever, boots to boogie or karaoke, but everything's country themed. And we're gonna do barbecue sandwiches or something like that, provided from our community funds. It'll be open to all TREPO members.
What is the date?
The 4th of June. It's a Saturday. And we'll put the time out, but we don't have that nailed down yet.
1 to 5.
1 to 5. Probably 1 to 5.
Okay. Sounds great.
So all the food and drinks are gonna be provided? We don't bring anything?
From which fund? Bring a dessert, you can, but we're gonna.
Yes.
The community fund. So this is to give back to the community and give it. We'd like to do some events since that's kicking off summer, so everybody's kind of comes out and meets other people.
Good idea.
Anything from communications?
Pretty much covered it.
All
Oh,
right.
did you want to cover the election email?
Yes. So we'll get into the election part later, but he did create us an email for election@treepo.net. So everything election related will go into that, not get confused in any of the other communications or any of that.
Okay. You'll be discussing that in the report
Yes.
from the committee tonight. Okay. Anything else, Vonda?
We're good.
Charlie? Nope. Okay. We will move on then to Park Committee report. Tommy, just an update on the application process and where we are.
Yeah, we put together the application. It's just a standard application. And I think if I understand it correctly, Ms. Thompson's going to be able to put that on the computer and have it so that people can actually apply on the computer itself. Is that
I can do that. The application that was sent to me, though, there's a lot of forms in that application, so it would take me a little while to build the page. But yeah, I can do that.
I thought it was just one page.
It is one
Way to
page,
put
but
together.
name is a form, address is a form, education, all these, every little check mark. So that takes a little while to build whenever you're building a website.
Well, is there a simpler,
I can create a much simpler one, and we can knock it out pretty quick if you would like.
I
But
think that
I'd
would be-
recommend that.
I'm all for something.
in the meantime, I did put the PDF document that was sent to me on the website today. I let all of our neighbors know about it, so if they wanted to just print it off and do whatever with it, they could. But we can simplify it, break it down a little bit, and just have it to where you fill out the form online. It'd be a lot easier.
Mr. Chairman, that would be great. If we could do that, that would make it simple and, if you're a computer idiot like I am, then, it may give you a little bit of an advantage to be able to, I know you're not, I'm just on anybody that goes online that wants to try to do this, it's just whatever is simple, and, so that it can be submitted online. But, yeah, I would ask that if you could do that, with approval, Mr. Chairman, so.
And when they hit submit, would you like all of those applications to go to you personally?
No, sir. I think, and again, that's been part of the problem. Nobody knew where to send these things, so phone calls have been coming to me, and I'm saying, wait a minute, you need to apply, and here's where we didn't have the application online. So I think what needs to happen is the applications need to be done online, and then somehow, where there's a
We can retrieve them.
repository of those that we can then, the chairman's approval board or a portion of the board or committee can review those and then make a recommendation to the board.
All right, well, let's figure out who that committee is so that whenever they hit submit, those things can be delivered to said committee electronically. So I'm not printing and bringing it all up here.
Is there a way to collect them online?
Sure.
And just leave them there online so that then we can access them at any time?
We could do it that way.
I think that would be the best way, instead of just sending them to me or sending them to a committee. If we could do that, then at any time we could access those.
Right, and then our committee can get together when we are ready to review it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think that'd be the way to do it, and I appreciate your help.
Let me ask, yes, Bill?
I just have a question. If you're gonna save this online, what's the security? Because people are gonna put personal information on these applications. What's the security protocol for these things online?
That's you.
That's me. Our website is secure with 256-bit encryption algorithms that are updated every 3 months. In the event that you was able to break through one, the code would completely change every 3 months to prevent that from happening. The passwords to access the back end are all complex passwords. I can't even remember my own password. I have a military grade encryption program to keep track of my passwords to make sure that nobody can get through. So I would say you're pretty well set.
If a person fills out an application online, it's submitted and it stays online, who has access to the information that's on that application?
Currently, that would be me. Until you tell me who the committee is to.
I would not like to see those opened up to the board or to the committee or anybody else to look at.
I agree.
Unless the committee contact you, say how many applications you got, and the committee meets and looks at the applications and then comes back and makes a recommendation. I just don't.
Because weren't you three gonna do the interviews?
Yes.
So you guys should probably be the ones that have them.
Well, if I have it sent directly to you guys whenever they hit submit, then none of the stuff would be saved on the server anyway. It would just go straight to your emails. You could look at it at your leisure and do whatever you wanted to. That eliminates his concern, but it brings up another concern in the email because I can secure my servers. I can't secure your
That's
email.
my point. I don't want that responsibility. I'd rather be able to access it with your authorization online than to have it sent to me. If something were to happen, then they'd be all on me, and I don't.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that.
I've been in that position before, and I don't like it. So
Don't blame you.
So if he can secure those, and then we can get those from Charlie.
I would appreciate it.
We need to leave that step in there.
Then whoever the chairman designates, or however he has to be on this committee, then you and those members would be authorized to access that information, right?
Yes.
And then that satisfies you and everybody. It's not public
No,
record. It's
Bill
no
has a
longer
very
public
strong,
record.
very good
It's
point.
not public record.
Right. Very good point.
I have
My
one thing.
suggestion is to have an attachment, be able to put their resume in on their also.
Absolutely.
Yes, Vonda.
I didn't give you the membership numbers.
You did not, and that was going to be part of your report. So the membership numbers. Let's slide that in there then real quick.
All right,
if
so
we can.
we did not give the membership numbers. Membership for this month for Columbia County, we're at 557 members. On the Suwannee County side, we have 183 members.
183?
183. 183.
740.
Yep, so 740 is our total.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Tom, you have anything else on?
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman, if we could maybe decide on a time frame, a limit, if it's 30 days or whatever from the point of it going online to its gotta have applications in by a certain point. I think that would be helpful. So then nobody can say, well, I didn't have enough time, or I didn't know that, or whatever. We can post that at the same time, the deadline.
Well, today's the 10th, so why don't we allow 3 weeks?
It's entirely up to you and
Why don't we allow 3 weeks from the time I get finished building that piece of the website? Does that sound okay?
Because he's gotta redo it before you.
I've got to program part of the website, so give me a moment to do that.
Okay.
It's not going to be a 5-minute job.
No, it's
So give me a minute to do that. Whatever that is, we'll say 3 weeks after that. So today is the 10th.
Well, you actually could put it on there, on like Trico.net and everywhere, once you get it all done and put a
So
little
could we
blurb.
say that they're all due, say, by the 31st of this month?
if that works for you.
It
I
works for
think-
you, I would say that, yes.
Well, that would be 3 weeks exactly, which means I'd have some cramming to do, but I could try to make that happen.
Why don't you do 30 days from today?
That sounds
6/10.
even better. Okay.
We're just trying to catch up as close as we can to the opening of the season with Memorial Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
If we want to catch it as close to if we can on the season, then let's say that it's all due by the 31st of this month. And I'll just spend a little less time sleeping. Yeah.
Thank you for all you.
Appreciate it, Charlie. Okay, anything else, Tommy?
No, sir.
All right, then we will move on to camera security. Charlie, where do we stand?
Right now, we're waiting on parts as always.
I bet.
Parts are
I'm
always
sure.
in back order. We actually have. The problem is I have a big chunk of my living room tied up in parts right now with most of the job there, and I'm waiting for the other couple little pieces to finish it up, so I don't have to go back to redo the same steps, if that makes sense. So I'm just waiting on those.
Okay, so are we working on which parts right now?
Right now, we're working on midpoint and getting parts in for midpoint and point part.
Okay.
Question,
Yes.
do you already have all that approved, or do we need to get approval for extra funding?
We don't need approval for extra funding because the entire project was already approved, so it's just a matter of me sending you invoices as I buy parts.
But I thought we only approved up to a certain amount, and we had used it.
That was for the first phase, which was this
Right.
park, and then we had another approval like a month or so after that
Okay,
for the second phase for the rest of the parks. I forget what the dollar amount was, but it was,
I'll go back on the minutes then.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I made that motion. I can't remember the exact amount now.
I don't remember the exact amount, but I believe you did.
Okay. Anything else, Charlie?
I believe that's pretty much it from my end.
Okay, we have Steve Allison, Three Rivers member, wants to speak to the board on some recent actions that were occurring in Three Rivers.
I'm not much to y'all. My name's Steve Allison. I wanted to address the meeting y'all had on February the 8th. Two people gave statements to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office about a Mr. Walker. They said I was an off-duty deputy or law enforcement here to, I guess, protect everybody or whatever. I have never been a law enforcement officer in my life, and I wasn't even at the meeting. They said I ushered him out the door. One of them said I shut his foot in the door and put handcuffs on him, but that I ushered him out here. And these two have caused trouble for years here, and it needs to stop. And the board needs to look at this and take care of the situation. I was at the Farm Bureau meeting that night. They call roll just like y'all do here, so they know where I was. And I got a attorney looking at these documents, and I may file a slander charges on them. This board does a good job, and y'all's time should not be wasted on something like this. Thank you.
Yes,
May I
Charlie?
address that, Glenn?
Sure.
Sir, where that's concerned, we did speak with law enforcement. We did have our cameras here recording the meeting. I can say 100% that you were not here because I was here, and I know the people that were. We have cameras inside and outside this building. So everything that happened on that, both in and out of the building, was recorded. I did make sure that all of that footage made it to the sheriff's office. You can see very clearly on the camera that you personally was not there. We can also see very clearly on the camera that the person who said that they were touched was never actually touched. We have 3 cameras that prove it. We also had, so they never got actually touched, never got handcuffs put on them, and law enforcement has all of that on video. So the people that did say that they witnessed handcuffs and stuff like that, law enforcement also understands that that was false accusations and that they lied on a sworn affidavit. So those people may end up getting a knock on their door, but as far as the board is concerned, we did take care of it by submitting all of that footage, and I can say that you was not here, so you're good.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, this involves serious allegations. Involves possible conduct unbecoming a board member, conduct unbecoming a TREPO member, maybe more than one TREPO member. It involves false statements to law enforcement, and certainly inconsistencies in the truth. It involves false report of a crime, and it certainly involves possible defamation by libel. Now, let me explain this. Libel is defamation by writing, which is probably even worse than slander. And not only that, but it was reported to a public law enforcement agency. Those are public documents. Those are, under the Sunshine Law, open for public inspection. Furthermore, if the Lake City Reporter or any other media picks that up, then what has been reported can be reported by those radio stations, TV stations, further defaming this person. In this case, Mr. Allison's name was used repeatedly as the person that did these things, and falsely stated that he did all these things. So I would suggest to you, in my opinion, that this, I'd be surprised if this doesn't constitute conduct unbecoming a board member and TREPO members, and I would ask the board, I would ask you, the board through you, Mr. Chairman, that it be reviewed by a committee and a report of the committee's findings be provided to the board to take make a decision as to the appropriate action, if any, regarding the people who have made these false accusations. And I think it's time, as Mr. Allison put it, it's time for it to stop. Enough's enough. And so I would say that you want to bring things in check, then as a board we have a responsibility to make sure that these wrongs are righted. And so I would respectfully ask you, Mr. Chairman, and this board to consider reviewing this as a whole and in consideration of all that's been done, and make a recommendation as to what action should be taken by this board against those people who made these libelous statements and false accusations.
If that's a motion, I gladly second it.
Do you have like proof or anything?
Well, I've got copies here of some of the statements, 2 of the statements. I can pass them out.
Mr. Trimble, is that in form of a motion?
Yes, sir, that would be a motion.
Okay, and we have a second.
second
So
that.
we're in discussion now. So these are sheriff's reports?
Yes, sir, these are witness statements from the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. There's also, Mr. Chairman, and I have that, I didn't make copies of it, a report. A report from the Sheriff's Office that includes Mr. Allison's name in that report.
Oh, those are singles, so.
Oh, they're all the same?
It also clarifies in that
So
report.
take this one.
It also clarifies in the Sheriff's Office report that the statements made were false.
There are 3 of them or just 2?
Hey, I got told.
How many different statements did you have,
There's
Mr.?
two statements that I copied for you. But there's more, and I can provide that to you. One is the sheriff's office report, which also has Mr. Allison's name in it, and it also states that the information provided and these witness statements was incorrect, inaccurate, and false. And Steve Allison's name is included in that.
Okay. All right, so, any board members have any more discussion?
I mean, I couldn't hear everything, but because, John, couldn't be quiet.
Okay, could,
May I speak?
just one moment, please. You want to just summarize that real quick, exactly what happened? I don't think they heard what happened here, so they're in the attendance, so.
Can you turn the air off for a minute? Yeah,
Sure.
turn the air.
And believe me, do I not understand the comment that you made about the news media? Because when somebody utters something, and it's in a public setting, and it's recorded, the newspaper could care less. They won't even print the whole story. They will literally slur and slander.
These reports are public records, and they are provided to a public agency. And as long as it's not an active, ongoing investigation, it is subject to perusal by the public, including media. If the media picks up on this, or did, and put Mr. Allison's name in the paper, then it has further defamed him. They're lucky so far that it has not. I'm not an attorney, but I would tell you that Mr. Allison has what looks like to me a very good case against at least two, maybe three people for defamation by way of libel. And so it's in a very, and even if it's not prosecuted, Mr. Chairman, at the least this board can take action anyway. It's conduct unbecoming a board member, possibly conduct unbecoming members of TREPO, and this board can take action as it relates to censure, revocation of privileges, revocation of a lot of things that normally would be given a member in good standing. And if it turns out that way, then what we have is not a member in good standing, but one or three who have engaged in conduct unbecoming. So I would suggest that...
Well, you've made a motion, and we have a second. If you want to just repeat that motion again.
Since I'm involved
Okay,
in the discussion.
Sure.
My
Discussion still.
My motion is that since it involves conduct unbecoming a board member and TREPO members, that it involves false statements to law enforcement, possible inconsistencies in the truth, possible reports of a crime, false reports of a crime, and possible defamation by libel, that I would ask that the chair appoint a committee to review this, and then once it is completed, that the committee report their findings to the board for the board to take the appropriate action in this case.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We're in discussion. Joan, did you want to
Yes.
make a statement?
I'm identified as a person that gave a statement, and I said exactly what happened while I was sitting here when the whole commotion started. When Rick, whatever his name is, stood right there and he asked Mr. Hunter, if he was under investigation. Mr. Hunter said, no, I believe.
Hey, that's not the fact.
And nobody
The fact is you wrote my name on that paper.
Wait a minute, Steve.
At the sheriff's office.
Steve, we're not going to, I'm going to let her finish up. Let her
At
go.
that time, then Mr. Rick was attempting to lock the door. Mr. Hunter asked if there was any law officers around. At that that time, he also asked, what number do I call? I was sitting right here. You stood up.
I wasn't here.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. The man that was, here's the thing, the man that was sitting right there stood up. I was told who the name was. I have no idea who you are, sir.
You ought to know. I've been around here 3 or 4 years.
And what did you witness?
Okay, let's-
while we were all
I
sitting
had
there
no
watching?
idea who the
So-
man was. I was told who it was, and the wrong name.
You backtracking
This
now?
is not the man that stood up.
Okay.
The
so
man that
I'm
stood
gonna-
up was an officer that was called in to Sergeant Holloway. I was called and asked about it, and I said, no, sir, I had no idea who the man was. I was told it was Steve. It wasn't Steve, it was another sergeant.
Okay, what I'm gonna do now, we're gonna cease the discussion. We had a motion and a second, a motion by Mr. Trammell and a second by Mr. Thompson, that we put a committee together. The chairman, I'm gonna ask Tom if you would serve, Terry and Bond if y'all would serve on this investigation committee. What we'll do is go back and read these reports and make a determination of what we can bring back to this board and a recommendation to the board at the next meeting. Is that, that's what you're asking?
That's fine.
Okay,
That's-
so, okay, well, so we have a motion and a second, and all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. We will move on now to the Elections Committee. And y'all can do that. Elections Committee, Vonda, let's see.
Rhonda's gonna speak with me because I've been sick. If I
Okay.
start talking too much, I start talking.
And Pam.
And Pam,
Thomas is
okay.
gonna.
So the Elections Committee has actually had a couple of meetings, and you've began to drill down on a
And
process.
we did find out that it's a Class A, there will be 6 board members, 4 alternates, and 4 officers.
Okay. So do you want to go ahead and make your report, Pam?
Yes, and there is an email that Vonda sent out.
So if you want to read that and then also the other part.
Okay.
We could turn the air back on too,
Okay.
maybe, and, because I think we could probably hear you, Pam, if you want to come on up a little
Okay.
closer, maybe.
One thing I wanted to ask, before I read it, you probably glance through it, and we bring up absentee ballots, which we haven't had in the past, from what I understand, but our bylaws state that our votes in an election will be accepted in person or by proxy. And what the committee has determined is that for the election, we'd like to ask the board members to accept the definition of the word proxy to mean, for the election, it would mean an absentee ballot. That might also be considered a secret ballot, which in truth, every ballot will be a secret ballot. And if you look in Rule 720, which we'll try to have that all, we're sending out a letter specifically for elections, and we'll define all of that information, but here's the recap. Applications or nominations for the TRACO board will be received until August 1st. The election will be held on October 8th at an annual meeting for Three Rivers property owners. The elections will be for 6 seats to serve from January 2023. So the election is 2022. The office starts in January 2023 for 4 years ending December of 2026. We will also be electing 4 officers for the corporation: president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. Board members must be property owners in good standing, and corporate officers must live in Three Rivers full-time. We will also be voting for 4 or 6 alternates.
For alternates.
4 alternates. And we'll provide the P.O. Box, the official address for Three Rivers, for the applications to be sent to. And we request that each person filling out an application or nomination return that with a short bio. The applications must be received no later than August 1st. While our bylaws do not require absentee ballots, we feel the need to allow absentee ballots for this election. If you're unable to attend, and if you're not able to vote in person on October 8th, we'd like for you to contact, is that through
Trico, but at either the phone number or the email.
election.traco.net, probably will get that ironed out, to request an absentee ballot. That ballot will be an official ballot. It will be stamped with the Traco official seal. So you can't duplicate it if it doesn't have the official seal on it. Let's see. It has to be mailed back to Traco. That ballot has to be placed inside a blank envelope. That envelope goes into another envelope where you, on the outside, you put your lot number, your name, or your signature, and that ballot will only be mailed to your official address. It can't go to your summer residence or your Aunt Mary's. It will only go to the official address on file.
Great.
And we're just trying to make sure that
I think we mentioned too having the actual membership number on that.
membership number, class and lot number, but yes, so the membership
Lot
number
number or
is
key
on the
number?
outside with your signature.
That's what she just said. Key number.
And that is,
This is just rough,
Right.
yes.
but it's key number.
So, I guess that one thing that we were asking if the board would just recognize that proxy means absentee ballot for this election, and then proxy, because if you're not gonna be at the meeting, one, you wanna get an absentee ballot so your vote counts. Two, if we have a quorum and we have any other, business at the annual meeting, you can have a proxy take your place for the annual meeting, not for your yes.
Right, and it appears that in the bylaws, they didn't refer to absentee, they referred to proxy as the form of an absentee, but yet there's more security in an absentee.
Correct.
So,
That way your vote counts. And just another point is that one ballot per person.
Per membership number.
If you happen to say, well, I didn't get that in the mail, and we send you another, if by chance both of those come in to the office, they will both be thrown out because we won't have any way of knowing which one was really the accurate vote.
I really don't want to, I'm sorry, I don't want to confuse the issue of proxies and alternates and absentee ballots. Right now, if I can't attend a meeting, and that's what proxy ballots are for, right now, meetings, not for voting for officers.
Right.
I can't attend it. Sammy's gonna be here, I can give Sammy a written letter that has to be filed with the secretary,
Correct.
and I give Sam 2 votes, one his vote and my vote. That's a proxy. So if you're gonna extend the bylaws now to have an absentee ballot for election of officers, don't confuse that with proxies. Don't let anybody think that we're giving proxies for an election. The issue is you're giving an absentee process that's not in the bylaws.
right.
And
It's up to the board to determine, to define the bylaws. And in this
Okay.
case, we're asking the board to define proxy in 2 ways. One, for the matter of elections, that will be an absentee ballot. for the annual meeting too. That will be a proxy where you
Yeah,
can
we're
give
right.
your vote to Sammy.
I
And
understand that my point is the proxy stands alone. You don't need to do anything with the proxy provisions in the bylaw.
Not for the
The only thing you're asking for is absentee
Good
ballot,
point.
and process for absentee ballot in the election of office.
That would be the
Don't
cleanest
ask
way,
proxies
Bill, to
at
do
all.
that.
Don't even
You're
do it.
right.
Yeah,
That would be the cleanest way.
it's less confusing.
So that works.
That is in your statutes of 720. I just handed her a copy.
That's why we're doing it.
That's
We're going by
why-
720.
Wanda has a copy.
We're going by 720, that's where all this, finish that last, at least the last paragraph there.
sorry.
And the other thing, I'm sorry.
Sure, Bill, that's good. Appreciate it.
You said a vote per member.
No,
or
it's
the
per
vote
number, per membership.
Number.
Per
Membership,
key.
Yeah.
right, per
Or
membership.
not per key, but per key member. In other words, my wife and I are both on the same lot, but we only have one vote.
Right.
Correct.
That's
So
correct.
it's not per person, it's per.
That's right.
You can have 5 memberships and you can have 1 vote.
And if they
Correct.
both show up,
If you had
go
10
on.
properties, you'd still get 1
1
vote.
vote.
Okay,
You want to let Mr. Trammell have a question?
Well, I just wanted, I like the part about member in good standing, but I want to make sure we understand what a member is. A member is someone who buys property. You automatically become a member. However, if you fail to pay the required amount, you are not a member in good standing.
Correct.
And you cannot go into the parks and you cannot participate in elections. So member in good standing may mean a lot of things, but it also means that you must have paid your dues in advance of elections or whatever else that you.
and we discussed that today, just like your application, someone cannot apply for a board position or an officer position if they're not a member in good standing. So their membership has to be paid up and their application turned in by August 1st.
Very good.
To get an absentee ballot, your membership needs to be in good standing, and you need to pay that by August 1st if you want to vote in the election, either in person or by absentee ballot.
Very good. Very
Um,
good.
the
So-
last
The last paragraph.
finish that. So again, we're going through Rule 720 on how the ballots are handled.
One thing that wasn't covered is we are going to have a locked box. It will have a lock on
It will
it.
be locked and secured with tape, with signatures across the tape. If the box were to be vandalized, it would be evident that the seal had been broken off. Yeah.
So your,
That's a ballot.
yep, that's what I was gonna say. So back to where you were talking about, so they would put the words absentee ballot on the outside envelope that they then mail in. Also, the absentee ballot will be verified and placed in the lock box to be opened on the day of the election by the election committee. Do we go
Yes,
for-
no one will open a ballot until the day of election. Election will take place from 10 till 1 on October 8th. After that point, no more votes will be taken, and it will come in here for counting. We've set up an accountability section where counting would be taking place here. There would be a seating area at that door where you could quietly come in and out and review the counting process, but you're not allowed to talk or you're not allowed to disturb the counting. And those of us on the election committee will be in that area back and forth or outside if you have questions. We can try to answer them.
What about the qualifications? We talked about qualification deadline, so that remember last time what messed up the election was Mickey Mouse and Minnie Pearl.
The write-ins.
Yes.
Do you want to?
So we've been doing a lot of research, and in 722 or 720, it says that if if you have someone that applies for each of the positions, then you do not have to allow a write-in. So as long as this is done and there's someone sitting in that space, because I think that is a lot, we kind of came to that conclusion, because people would be funny and put Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck. Well, those were, each one was a different line.
And it ties up the counting time, it will delay that process. So
Another thing is if someone by that last date turned in, there's only one person running for each of those positions, then they automatically get that position by default because no one is running against them, and that's according to 720.
they're running unopposed.
When somebody turns in a vote, they want to be on the ballot,
Right.
Okay.
So
this is what you're
this is what we've
working
come
on?
up.
Okay.
Well, so far, we feel pretty confident with this, but we also wanted to see if anybody else had any ideas that maybe something that we missed. We feel pretty confident with this. We want to secure this because of the way the last election went. You know, everybody had their opinion. You know, it wasn't right. We feel that this will stop ballot harvesting by, people can't just go and grab other people's votes. This way, it's not, one thing I don't think we covered is the ballot will not be in the newsletter. So you will request your ballot. So if you're not planning on attending the meeting, you would contact either the TREPO phone number or election@trepo.net. Charlie set us up an email just for that. That way we know who has requested. We've got a list of that. So you can't request one that way. We're going to have a master list and then show up that day of election and say, oh, I didn't get that ballot. Well, you're then taking the chance somebody, got your ballot. And we're also going to put a date in there that if you've requested one and have not received it by a such and such date, that you have to contact us then, because that's the only way that we can try to help you out. We can't wait till the last minute.
You're gonna have a cutoff date for requested absentee ballots?
Yes, that's what we haven't nailed down, and we just wanted to kind of present this out. This is where we're at, and does anybody else see anything majorly wrong or something that needs to be?
October 5th, that deadline was for absentee ballots.
I think, that was the receiving of them. That would be our last day to receive.
Okay, Joan?
How are you advertising to all property owners or key holders that this is what you're going to be doing?
We're going to be sending, and this is going to cost us, but we feel it's worth it to have an election with integrity. So we're going to send out here shortly, within the next 2 weeks, to all members in good standing will be receiving a letter, pretty much something similar to what we just told you, but it'll be laid out very simple terms of these are our cutoff dates, this is when it has to be in, this is how you get your ballot, and generally how it's going to
So
work.
you're sending a mailing to notify
A mailing
everyone.
to
Everybody be
every
notified.
member in good standing, to the address on record.
Thank you.
Okay. You have anything else to report?
Anybody else? Everybody good? Nope.
I think it sounded great. All right. We will move on then to new business, and we've got some Springs information, Itchtucky River, Hilda.
Yeah. So, Terry was kind enough to print out a letter that I received through Springs Institute. And you all have a copy of it. It's very encouraging in that, if you've read it, essentially we can each provide evidence that overuse of the river is causing damage to our ecosystem. And it's all kind of written in here so you can read. Ideally, we'd be sending videos and photos of the harm being caused. And it's all going to be sent to, I will have in the minutes and somewhere else, if it isn't in here, I don't think it is. I think it was a separate email said to send it to the Springs Institute, and it gives you a number. So now we'll have a central collection for all the photos and all the videos that will be forwarded to FWC to prove that our river is getting overused. Now, along with that, there are some really simple things that I'd like to encourage everyone to do. And I meant to bring with me a diver's flag that I purchased through Amazon. I think I spent a little bit over $20 on it. It wasn't super cheap. But it floats. It's got its own floating device and a weight and a big pole and a red flag that actually has support. So it's very visible. If anybody who swims can purchase a swimmer's flag like that while they're swimming, boats are supposed to stay essentially 100 feet away from you, which, as you know, can't be done in the narrow river that we have. So that alone will be a really great way to discourage motorboating on our river and speeding with these, what are they called? Jet skis. Yes, indeed. The other thing that's going to be very important is what Wanda brought up. Our public swimming areas be identified with ropes and buoys and possibly a few of these flags because people are swimming in them, which will mean that that will be a restricted area to boats. So really with having that at Point Park and at Trico, that's a huge deterrent. Boats are going to start getting the message that they need to slow down, abide by the no wake, and or stay away. Go find somewhere else to speed and have fun because this spring run is not where we want them. So anyway, please pass this along to, we've got a few extra copies. If you've got anyone that can get this, I'll be glad to send it. I think I did send it to Charlie, whether he can post it in documents or whatever he can do to get the word out that each one of us has the responsibility to report. I was swimming the other day, and a family of 4, 2 little kids in the back, mom and dad, and I'm swimming along, and they're behind me, and I'm swimming to get away from this blockage, and I come up and I hear him going, "God damn it, what's she doing?" So I look up and he goes, You're headed straight to my propeller. Well, I had no idea that I was headed towards his boat. He was headed towards me, so I said, I think it's your responsibility to keep your distance from me. I didn't have my flag with me, by the way. And he said, yeah, but you're headed towards my propeller. I said, I'm sorry. He didn't apologize. I thought, what? Did you apologize? But anyway, so really the issue is very simple. It's a matter of health, safety, welfare, and conflict between active and passive recreation. This is a passive recreation spring run. It's not an active recreation ocean or bay or anything like that. We're narrow and we need to protect what we have for future generations.
I just wanted to add that when you use that dive flag, it's also used in scallop season, and it protects the divers and the ones that are snorkeling. There's a lot of people in our river that doesn't ever get on a tube. They just swim and snorkel down the river. Well, a lot of times they're underwater, and you don't see them if you're in a boat. So I just wanted to add that, because that dive flag protects them as well.
Yes.
And there are more and more people doing that.
Yes.
So Hilda, is there any progress being made going forward as it relates to the laws for boating and the laws on the river?
I think so. John Joplin would be a better one. You and John have met with FWC. Have you heard anything
No.
from him? Yeah, this is the first thing that this person, Amy Roselle, and she, that's right, you're the one that contacted me to get the information. And And Amy's doing a bang-up job. She's really doing a great job. So, we probably need to have another meeting, Glenn, like the one that we had previously to get an update, maybe if John has an update. But what I'm reading here is that we need to present evidence. And the beauty of it is, at that meeting, it was brought up that if there's no enforcement, we're not gonna get anywhere. Well, enforcement is never around when we need them, because they only have 3 people and they've got X numbers of miles to cover. This legislation at least is letting individuals submit proof, which is great. So the more proof we submit.
So that
the
legislation
bigger
then will be at the Tallahassee level, is what you're saying?
I
Is that
think
what
it is
they're
in
asking for that?
Tallahassee. I think, it's through FWC, and it's whatever you were told that they were working to come up with what was it?
Well, they were looking to do some setbacks, some zones and whatever, like at the mouth.
Oh, no, they've already got that. That's old.
But it's not.
That's old business.
But it's not done. I mean, you see what's going on down there.
Yeah. Anyway, we do need to.
I mean, that's a dangerous place to go through.
It's absolutely.
And especially at Point Park, with the swimmers and tubers, sometimes where the boats pull in there.
Yes.
But I do have this question as far as the quality of the river. Is your group or team looking at the water qualities? Are they improving? Are they getting worse? Is it seasonal based on the floods?
We are very fortunate in that the Springs Institute now has about 8 or 9 years of documentation on all the water quality issues that we probably need to acquaint ourselves with. And I'll try to make it a point in the next month or 2 to really understand what's going on. I don't think it's gotten, I think I don't know, I don't want to speculate, but I know that as a swimmer, the water quality is horrible from what it used to be. Because at 8:30 in the morning, even before I get in the water at 9, if a boat comes through, it's murky. And it's murky the rest of the day.
I have to tell you, I was out on the dock today at like 10 o'clock. And I'm expecting there's no activity. This is Tuesday. And so I'm expecting the water to be crystal clear. And it was murky. And I'm thinking to myself, where is this coming from? Is it just getting here from the tubers from yesterday? Because it couldn't have gotten there that fast. Where's it coming from? Because we haven't had any rains to amount to anything.
All I can tell you is if I swim before any boaters are on it, it's fairly clear.
This
Now
morning
that
it
the
was
water's
not.
receded.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Just seems strange anyway.
So stay involved. Springs Institute, if you're not members or if you haven't gone in, go in, check out the information. They've got all the information, all the reports right there in High Springs. It's a wonderful resource.
Thank you, Hilda. Any questions of Hilda?
Thank you.
We'll move on to any old business that we have that's still out there. Don't see any. So do we have anyone that wants to speak to the board? Thank you for not. So we will, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.